Welcome back, everyone, to the Writer's Parachute. We're guiding author and writer dreams to a perfect landing. Today, we have with us two very special guests. It's a mother and daughter. We have Jennifer and Sophia Namazy. We're going to come back and talk to them in a moment about their children's books. But first, of course, we always have the housekeeping. We would love for you to go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget the bell so you're notified when we have new episodes every single week on Tuesday. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, now X, and we are also on Threads and Blue Sky, all at Writer Parachute. That's Writer Parachute without an S. And if you would like to get notified in your email inbox every week of new episodes and happenings here on the Writer's Parachute, you can go to fox.com/the Writer's Parachute and sign up for our email list and our newsletter that will go to your email box every week with new information. So let's go ahead and get on with the show. And we always start the topic of the week on the show. This week, we are talking about the elements of story. We have been focusing season 2 on reviews, and I think we've covered that pretty well. We're going to focus season 3 on storytelling. So we're trying to get you guys ready for storytelling. One of the things that are important for storytelling is knowing what the elements of story are. Any book that you write, whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, has an element of story to it. So what are the elements of story? Well, there's always the idea of the topic. What are you going to talk about? What's the story about? Who's it about? Why are you telling the story? Then the second is, who are you telling the story to? Why are you telling them the story? And then the next one is adding in the knowledge or the information or the challenge, why the story is important. And then the next one is developing the character through change or growth. But it could also be the reader or the author who's experiencing that change or growth. And then, of course, the final element of story is, where does it end? What was the reward? What was the benefit? What was the lesson? What was conclusion? Every story out there, every book out there has these 5 elements of story somewhere included in them. This is how we tell a story. This is how we know where a story begins, where it ends, and what is likely to happen next. For those of you unfamiliar with that, I just went to Pinterest and looked up a bunch of these. I'm not kidding you. There's plenty of these little charts and graphs about the story structure, the elements of story. There's different kinds of fill in the blank forms. If you would like to look at a few of these, you can go to my Pinterest at Donna Sager Cowan 1 on Pinterest and look under writing stuff and see it there. There's many, many more. So if you have interest in learning about the elements of story, please go check that out for yourself and learn a few things. So let's get on with the show. Of course, we want to get over and talk to our guest. This week's guests are Jennifer and Sophia Namazy. Jennifer is a mother and doctor. Her daughter, Sophia, is an author, teen writer, and student who works with her mom on their series Pigtails, Ponytails, and Fairytales. They have 2 books out. The first one being self-titled Series Book 1, and the second one, their most recent one, is Pigtails, Ponytails, and Fairytales Hair Emergency. And that was recently out in January of 2023. So just about a year now that it's been out. Sophia is a senior at Francis Parker High School, and she wrote Ponytail, Pigtails, and Fairytales in middle school and Hair Emergency while in high school. All the proceeds from her books go to help fund research for her twin brothers and a medical condition they have called Schwachmann Diamond Syndrome, and I'm not quite sure I'm pronouncing that right. The books are based on family, since her sister is the main character and her brother is who the books are dedicated to. Welcome to the Writer's Parachute, Jennifer and Sophia. How are you guys today?
Good. Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. I'm so excited to have you guys here. I was a little bit on the sidelines helping you guys with your second book, Pigtails, Ponytails, and Fairytales, Hair Emergencies. So I'm excited to have you here on the podcast. And in the new book, it's well, both of the books, but we're mostly going to first talk about the second book, the hair emergency one. And it's about two hair fairies named Sparkles and Flo that visit a human child named Poppy. And they go to her house every night and style her hair while she's going to bed. In the second book, their fun is kind of interrupted by the arrival of the tooth fairy named Penelope, and the book includes lessons and topics near and dear to the hearts of many young readers. It includes bullying, doing the right thing, friendship, and forgiveness. And I want to know, Sophia, why you felt these were important topics to include in this very fun and imaginative story.
I think that these topics are very important and relevant to young readers. During elementary, middle, and even high school, you will come across situations with bullying and friendships. In Hair Emergency, Sparkles and Flo come across a situation where they're not treated how they should be treated. I think that bullying is like a very serious topic and should be talked about more. So I wanted the audience to not only be able to relate, but learn how to overcome this challenge as well.
Right. And I do like the fact that without giving away too much, at the end of the story, there is a moment of change and growth, as we talked about with storytelling and forgiveness, which is really important because, again, things happen in life, but if we can't learn to get past it and forgive, I think that that's a harder lesson sometimes than to deal with the bullying. What do you think?
I agree. I hope that young readers reading my book are able to apply what they learned in the book to real life situations and overcoming that challenge.
Yeah, and it's in a fun kind of way,
Yes.
right? And it's in an approachable way to get at a topic that can be very serious.
Mhm.
And these are all issues that my kids have gone through, that most kids have gone through, and to kind of give the resource in kind of a friendlier way that's more lighthearted, yet really kind of honing into the message at the end of the book is really important.
Yes. And I absolutely love this book and this series because it is so far into the imagination. I mean, we all think about fairies, but who would have ever thought about hair fairies and coming to style a child's hair at night while they're trying to sleep, or that the tooth fairy might be, a bully, it's like, it's very imaginative, it's very lighthearted. There's so many interesting and exciting and quite revolutionary ideas in the book. I love that you're using the hair tools as their means of getting around. I mean, that was just icing on the cake for me. I was just like, this is so fun, and I think kids will love it, and the illustrations are just gorgeous. So Jennifer, why don't you tell us what the inspiration was for this series?
Yeah. So the series came about because I actually made up the story of the fairies when explaining Poppy, who is my daughter. When she would wake up in the morning, her hair was just crazy. It was in knots, it was in, mohawk style. Every day it was something different. And she was like, why is my hair just a big knot? And I remember Sophia and I, we were talking and I said, we can just tell her that there are fairies coming in and playing with her hair at night and see what she says. And she actually believed us for a little while. I mean, she was young enough, she was in preschool. And so Sophia actually said, this is a great idea for a book. And she started by sketching because she is an artist. And she started by sketching and then went to writing. And that was kind of her method.
Well, it is amazing, and I have to give you both kudos because this is something we don't think about oftentimes as parents. It's like how do we imaginatively work with them to kind of teach them lessons and get them past some of these issues that they're kind of like confused about? And it's like, I've dealt with my daughters and their hair, kind of being it's like a rat's nest in the morning. And it's like, how do you explain that to them? It's like, I know for my daughter, it's like trying to brush her hair out in the morning was, an act of patience.
Right.
Because she did not want, anybody, and and it's like I would have loved to have had this story about, well, maybe you need to talk to the fairies about not lit up so much at night.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So, so I know that that this book is a labor of love for both of you. So I'm just wanting to know what it is you guys would like readers to get from the book series, Pigtails, Ponytails, and Fairytales, and specifically the second book, Hair Emergency. Can you answer that, Jennifer?
Yeah, I mean, I think foremost it's meant to entertain and be a funny, like you said, it's a funny story to explain a common problem. And I think just to gain that kind of sense of comfort and entertainment from Sparkles and Flow. They are funny, they're approachable, their adventures take you to crazy places, and they're very relatable. So and the message I think that comes through in both of those books about family, about bullying, about friendships and the difficulty in friendships. Even between Sparkles and Flow, there is some friction at some point. So, and how to navigate that. I think these are all really nice messages to send to young people. But ultimately, it's enjoyment, and it's a labor of family love from from us,
Mhm.
to the readers as well.
Well, and also I think too, it's like, the main part of the story is that Sparkles and Flo are kind of seen as misfits, but they don't seem to care because this is their passion and they're going after that passion. And it's almost as if, that passion is way more important than what other people think. And I love that about a story because we want to inspire kids to go after their passions, to go after their dreams, and not worry so much about whether it's a popular idea or not. And I do love that about the story. So, Sophia, this is your second book. Again, we talked about the first one being book one of Pigtails, Ponytails, and Fairytales, and it's where we meet the dynamic duo of hair fairies and Poppy. So can you kind of give us just a short description or synopsis of what happens in the first book?
So the first book introduces Poppy, who is my sister, and she has a really bad hair day. And it goes to the scene where we meet Sparkles and Flo, and Poppy's visited by Sparkles and Flo, and they mess up her hair during the night. And without spoiling it, it's just basically a story with Sparkles and Flo and Poppy.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's them. It's as much Poppy figuring out what to do with her hair, but it's also Sparkles and Flo trying to figure out how to be, hair fairies, which have never really existed before the two of them too. So that's fun. It's like how do you train a fairy to do hair?
Right, right. And I think Sparkles and Flo in the first book, they get a little bit carried away. So it's more of what can Poppy do to navigate through this?
Right. Absolutely. I find the first book so fun and so just I was laughing the whole way through it because I could totally see that happening, with, kids, with fairies, the whole thing. I was just like, I would want to see this on a big screen. It was just magical. So, Sophia, if you could go all the way back to the beginning when you first was thinking about writing books and publishing and stuff, what do you wish that somebody had told you or that you had already known?
Well, before I created this book, when I started writing and sketching, I was just interested in getting the story out, and I wasn't as concerned about how that was going to happen. I wish I had known about like more resources like podcasts like this, which can help guide young authors through the writing phase and publishing phase.
Yeah, I think that when she finished and she had, multiple sketches and she had kind of the framework of what she wanted to write, it almost looks like you're just looking across the ocean and you're trying to get to the other side, but you have absolutely no idea.
Mhm.
I think even since the creation of the first book, there have been so many resources that have become available that and I'm so excited for like young writers to be able to kind of access those resources because I think um, the more knowledge that you can get,
Mhm.
free knowledge too
Mhm.
is fantastic.
Right. Well, and I want to take this opportunity to mention a couple of programs that are out there for young writers who are still in school. One of the most famous one is 826 National, which they do have offices around the United States for authors. You can go to the US National, I believe, .org website and see where the closest one is to you and get resources there. Here in the Sacramento area, we have 916 Inc., which is a program dedicated to getting young authors, writers, and poets to work on their writing and develop their skills and have an anthology published once a year, which is great. And they bring in some of the writing community, such as myself and other people, to facilitate that and kind of encourage and help these young writers. And I challenge authors and writers out there to get involved with your local schools and communities for young groups, not only for the readers, but for the up and coming writers, because they could definitely use your support and your help in navigating, through the whole thing. And I think we'd all be richer and have a deeper understanding of the process if we kind of did that a little bit more. So I'm going to challenge everybody, and I hope Sophia can echo that challenge here, that it's desperately needed, because I know that when I was a young author, I would have given anything for somebody to reach out and say, you can do this here, let me help you here, let me show you what's the next step. So
Yeah, no, definitely mentorship is so important, so important.
abs- absolutely. And even if you're not prepared to mentor, just the encouragement, just
Mhm.
encouragement and the support it goes just a long way, even if it's just like, hey, I wrote this, can you read it and tell me what you think? Sometimes that is worth its weight in gold. So Sophia, you're a young author and writer, so I want to know what advice you would give to other up and coming wannabe young authors and writers out there who want to write books and children's books.
Yeah, so advice I would give other young authors and writers is first, if you have an idea, just pursue it. It may seem like impossible or challenging, but it's definitely possible. And second, there's so many things that I learned from self-publishing to like finding ways to promote your book. I think it's amazing to see something, an idea that you have become something like a physical book.
Right. And I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you share with us what it was like each time you held that first copy of that physical book in your hand? Because I think that's something that doesn't get told often enough.
Yeah, I still have the sketches of like my first sketches of sparkles and flow, and so holding the sketches next to my book is really incredible to see.
Yeah. And there's something about that moment. I know as a published author myself, there's something about that moment each and every time, whether it's my first book or my 100th book, it's something about accomplishment. It's that feeling of, I actually did this. This was just something in my head, and now it's a physical thing that everybody can have. and then you have that moment of like, it's not just right now, it's for my lifetime and beyond. People can read this story.
Yeah.
You've just created a legacy for yourself. So think about how long you're going to be promoting these books.
I think also, and I wonder if it's true for you as well, that when you first kind of held that book, did it seem like the second one was even more attainable, right?
Yes, it does. I find that, that I want to get to that next book each time I publish another book. It's like I want to shorten that time between books because I'm so excited each time a new book comes out. But also it's just that feeling of I can't really explain it other than almost like, when you give birth to a child and you're just in awe and you're sitting there going, I created this.
Mhm.
I created this. And it's like we don't get very many moments in life where we get to wholly create something from just an idea. And books are one of those few things. And so I think it's one of the few things that doesn't get celebrated enough and it doesn't get talked about enough. And it that moment that you truly look forward to and know that you've you've crossed the threshold. You're now a published author. So, all right. So I know that writing at such a young age is very challenging for you, Sophia. So I want to know if you could share with us and the listeners here about what was the most difficult part and what was the best part for you.
Mhm. So it was definitely challenging navigating the whole like process like as a whole like self-publishing and illustrating. I would say the most difficult um obstacle would be finding places to carry my book, such as like bookstores, and finding ways to promote my book and get it into the public eye.
Mhm.
That's also something that's not taught to students in school, or, she had to learn marketing and publicity
Mhm.
on her own. And just a lot of work involved with that. You talk about having your baby, and then you talk about trying to get everybody to really like your baby as much as you do.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? So there's a lot of rejection that's involved as well.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, there is. And and I think sometimes the world complicates a lot of these things. People are like, well, I just don't know how to promote things or market it. I'm like, sure you do. You're promoted and marketed to all the time. You know what you like. Why do you buy certain things? Either you need it or because they were really clever at getting you to believe that you needed that thing. So that's all you have to do to market it is to get them to believe it's something they desperately need. So, sometimes it's easier to uncomplicate those things. So I want to know what you thought was the best thing about being a young writer.
My best achievement would be I was able to talk on the few local news shows with along with my siblings. So I thought that was very cool. Another achievement is that's very important to me is that my book was shown at Camp Sunshine, which is a program for kids with Schwachmann Diamond, which is the disorder that my brother has, and they were really able to enjoy my book.
Okay. Now we mentioned before, and I'm going to just throw this question in here. We mentioned the condition that your brother has. So Jennifer, can you talk a little bit more about what that is and how the proceeds from the book are going towards that disease?
Absolutely. So it's actually Sophia's twin brother,
Uh-huh.
and he was born with a blood disorder. And so he has to be monitored at Boston Children's Hospital every year since he was an infant. And they're doing some incredible research up there in Dr. Shimamura's lab, really looking at, potentially finding cures to rare diseases like this. and they need funding. And so we took it upon ourselves to use the book, and 100% of proceeds go to them. And, you know, hopefully we'll find a cure one day for all these kids.
Okay, well, here at the Writer's Parachute, we're going to try and help you a little bit. So we're going to buy 10 copies of both books. Try and get a little bit more money to the foundation. And anyone who wants a copy from the Writer's Parachute, we're going to ask you to write a review for one or both of the books, and we'll send you a copy. And I'm sure I could probably get Sophia to sign those copies for me.
Absolutely.
All right, so back to the question. So you're busy, you're a teenager, you're in high school, you're a writer, you're an author. What keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated? Well, recently at school we have this thing called senior buddies. So kindergartners, we're paired up with kindergartners, and recently we were able to read our favorite children's book to our kindergartner. And so I gave my book to my senior buddy last week, and we read the book together, and she actually wanted me to read it multiple times for her. And when I hear stories of kids who read my book before bed every night and enjoy it, it makes me really motivated to continue writing.
Absolutely. I mean, there is nothing like getting that feedback from the readers of your book, and, you know, just knowing that you reach that one reader, but when it multiplies, it's just, I can't even describe that feeling that you get of, wow. You know,
Yeah.
it's very empowering and overpowering at the same time. And you know, when I think about books that I read as a child and how they still are with me today, and imagine your books are now going to be part of their history and their life for the rest of their lives. And, you know, this is part of the reason we pass certain books down to our own children, is because we enjoyed them or loved them as children. So kudos on that. So I want to know from Jennifer, here on season 2 of the Writer's Parachute, we've been focusing on reviews. We're trying to encourage readers and listeners to buy books and read them and leave reviews. They are the lifeblood for authors and writers. They're one of the few ways that we do get feedback from our readers. And so we've been trying to encourage them. And by doing that, we're putting our authors on the spot and asking them to give us a review of their book. So Jennifer, give us a review of Pigtails, Ponytails, and Fairytales Hair Emergency.
All right. Well, this review gives both books 5 stars. Sparkles and Flow are amazingly fun. Who knew that fairies could explain my bedhead every day? I can't wait to see where Sparkles and Flow go next. From China to Fairyland, they're just awesome.
I agree. 5 stars all the way. And we want to remind our guests that it's just that simple. Reviews are your opinion of the book. They're about what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, who you might recommend it to. And of course, we encourage you every single time you read a book to leave a review for the author. They will be so grateful that you did. Please go on social media and post a review, tag the author to it. They will be very excited to see that review. And anytime you read a book, you can always go back to where you purchased the book and leave a review there. If you cannot remember or don't know how you got the book, or you got it from a library or something like this, you can always go to goodreads.com and leave a review for the author's book. They will be so appreciative and passing along a recommendation to the next reader on the list. So, Sophia, I know you're busy, but what's next? I feel like there's another story coming.
Well, currently I'm a senior in high school and I'm applying for college this year. And I'm going to continue to work with the Schwachmann Diamond Registry and Boston Children's. I want to continue to promote my books as well. And Who knows? Maybe Sparkles and Flo will have another adventure soon.
I thought maybe Mom was giving us a hint about China there.
Possibly.
Well, of course, we would always love to have more books in the Pigtails, Ponytails, and Fairy Tales series. So, and we'll have you back when we have a new one. So, where can listeners find your books?
Listeners can find my books on my website, which is sophianamazy.com, and you can use the discount code parachute20, and also on Amazon.
So it's Sophia-Namazy, Namazy, Sophia with a PH.com. The Parachute 20 is for your listeners. So it's 20% off all books for the rest of the month. So I really hope, I appreciate you buying the books, but if anybody wants, that's how you can find us there and on Amazon. Absolutely.
All right, awesome. Well, of course, we will have all the links to everything for you in the show notes. We will have the website. We will have the code for you. You do need to purchase the books through the website to get the 20% discount. They're also available on Amazon, and as someone who helped them, I do know that they are also available at all bookstores worldwide. If you cannot find them at your local bookstore, please ask. They can order them for you, but do try to help them out and go to the website and use the 20% discount code. So I know you're also active on social media. So can you let us know where you are on social media so that they can follow you?
I am on LinkedIn at Sophia Namazy.
Okay, that's it. No Facebook, Instagram, or anything of that nature. No author platforms.
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. Well, we'll talk about that. I have to do all that crazy stuff. It's like I'm even on TikTok, and it's like grandma on TikTok. It's very confusing. But you know what I love about social media is I don't worry too much about it, because if I do something wrong, there's always some helpful teenager that's going to tell me I'm doing it wrong. I'm like, okay, thank you. All right. So, Jennifer, we talked a little bit about it, but I do want to reinstate it here. Any promotions that you wanted to share with our audience here?
Yes, that code Parachute 20 will give you 20% off. That is the promotion that we're running this month, and I appreciate having the opportunity to come on and speak to your listeners.
Okay, so is that going to just be running through the end of February, or is that going through the end of March?
It'll be through the end of February.
Okay, great. So we'll give them about 9 days to get in there. So don't dawdle, people. Get your orders in right away. Was there anything else that you wanted to include before we go over to do our tip of the week?
No, I'm just appreciative of the opportunity to be here. Again, to share this labor of love from our family, and to share the books with your listeners.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And of course, we want to do our tip of the week. Now, we always try to tie in our tip of the week with something that one of our authors or guests has struggled with. And Sophia said that she had, struggled with the learning experience and how to navigate as a young author in publishing and marketing her book. So let's talk about that for a moment. We did talk a little bit about the marketing and how sometimes it gets complicated, but the one thing that I want to encourage you is to give yourself time. It is a learning process. Nobody learns it in a day. Nobody does it right every single time. And remember, even if you don't win that award this month or this year, there's next year, there's next month. If you don't get that TV interview this year, this month, this week, there's next month, there's next year, next week. If you don't find exactly the right place for it, there's always more to learn. Your books are out there for your lifetime and beyond. It is a process, and she's already doing the right thing, because every time you have a new book out, guess what? That second book promotes the first book. The third book promotes the first two books. And so The best way I can say to promote your book, if you don't want to do the marketing and promotion or deep dive into it, keep writing more books because they promote each other. So that's kind of it for us here on the Writer's Parachute. We are so thankful to having Jennifer and Sophia here with us today. I encourage each and every one of you guys to go out and grab a copy of both of her books. Don't forget to use the code parachute20 on the website. We'll have that information for you in the show notes. And don't forget to leave a review. If you're buying directly from the author, I'm sure she's gonna sign those for you, which makes them a collector item. But don't forget to go to goodreads.com and leave her a review. She'll be so happy and thankful that you did. Until next time, I am grateful to be your host here on the Writer's Parachute, guiding author and writer dreams to a perfect landing. We hope that you find this creative space a safe space to land your dreams too. Until next time, bye.
Oh.